In this video, we will show how to configure a schedule trigger that can automate recurring tasks and processes. To add a recurrence trigger, search for a schedule built-in component. You have two triggers. We will start with the recurrence trigger. Now, for any given trigger, there will be a set of options that can manage the settings behind the trigger. Now, for the recurrence, first of all, you have to select the frequency. There will be two options to set the interval as long as the frequency. Now, for the frequency, you will have the default frequency known for any schedule. So you can adjust if you need it per hour or a day or a week. So let's start by minutes. Now, suppose that you need this schedule to be started at specific time or according to specific time zone. So that's why for every given frequency, there will be a set of options. So I can simply add a new parameter to have the time zone and to select according to which time zone this trigger will be fired. And you can have more options to select the start time. Now, if we change this to be a day, so by sense, you will have an option to set the hours as long as the minutes. If we switch to a week, so you have an option to select days, and so on. Now I'll go back to the default settings and I will configure this to be fired every 5 seconds. So let's save and go back to the overview and start refreshing to see the frequency of triggering our workflow. So now it's clear that every 5 seconds we have a new instance of a workflow execution. Now we'll go back to the designer. Now this has been configured to be fired every 5 seconds. Now what if the inside process will take more than 5 seconds? So by default, Logic app configured to work in parallel. Now to trace this out to see how we can configure these settings, I will add a new step and go to the schedule again. And I will add a delay task that can delay the execution for 15 seconds. So this will guarantee that we will have multiple instances of our workflow running in parallel. Now I will save and go to the overview pane again. I will refresh again. And as you can see now, we have more than one instance in the running state because every 5 seconds our workflow will be triggered and every instance will take around 15 seconds to be completed. Now, what if we want to override the settings? As long as we have sometimes some services that we don't need a concurrency access to those services, or we need to limit them to specific thresholds. So I'll go back to the designer. I will go to the settings related to the recurrence trigger. And as you can see, we have something called here Concurrency Control. So I will override the default settings that we can have 25 parallel instances, and I want to adjust it to be only one. So this will guarantee that we will have one instance of the workflow run in parallel, and this means that the execution will go in a sequential mode. So I will save and go again to the overview. Now we have one instance in the running state. Now if we try to refresh again or to manually fire our workflow, we'll see that we will have only one instance at running state at the same time, and you should wait until we have this completed successfully to have the ability to run your workflow again. So this is how you can add a recurrence trigger to your workflow, and this will be an efficient way to automate the process of recurring tasks and the processes.